Welcome to Zetesk Grants. We're going to be doing something a bit different today. We're going to be doing a Pokemon tier list. So a little bit less of a rant, but I'm planning to go through all standard form Pokemon. So I believe this is from the game Black and White, so it might not have some of the newer generations, but we'll see as we get further down the list. So first off, Bulbasaur kind of sucks, but he's not horrible. A little bit of his whole evolution line there. Charmander, slightly better. I don't really like any of the original starters. I usually go with either Charmander or Squirtle, just because Bulbasaur is so useless. But if Charizard and Blastoise weren't strong, I wouldn't use them. Caterpie, awful. Weedle, horrible. The only thing it's good for is evolving quickly so that I don't have to use it anymore. Same with Pidgey. Rattata sucks. And it looks like we have the Alolan forms here. Spearow, slightly better than the other birds, but I don't like its evolution. Ekans kind of sucks. Arbok's a bit better. Pikachu, obviously, is good. Raichu, not as good as Charizard. Sandshrew sucks. I don't like Ice Sandshrew. Sandslash. The Nido line, I think they're pretty good. They're not excellent, but they're pretty good. Clefairy, Clefable, they're decent. I don't like the Ice Vulpix. Ninetales is alright. Jigglypuff. Wigglytuff kind of sucks. Zubat. Everyone hates Zubat. He's the worst. Oddish, Vileplume, and you can see I'm filling up D tier pretty fast, and I'm not going to worry about putting these in order. And let me see if I scroll down, you can still see all that. Good. Diglett is decent, even with hair, although the bald form is better. Meowth's pretty good. Alolan Meowth, Galarian Meowth. I don't like Persian though. It's not as good. Psyduck, pretty good. Golduck sucks. Should not be in the game. I just want Psyduck to stay Psyduck forever. Actually, I'm going to put Mankey all the way up there. I like Mankey and Primeape. Growlithe is so generic, but I'm putting him in C tier. Poliwhirl, I actually like Poliwhirl's line. Later on when it branches off, I'm not as fond of it, but for now I'll put them up there. Abra, Kadabra, Alakazam, Machop, Machoke, Machamp. Machamp's pretty S tier. My first S tier. He's one of the good ones. Bellsprout gets worse when it evolves, but it's still pretty good. These guys suck. Jude is alright. Not a fan of the Alolan versions, though. If it wasn't so difficult to evolve him in the first game, then I might place him higher, but I don't like the trade exclusive guys. And get out of here, Candy Floss. Nobody likes the pink and purple and whatever the hell that is. Original Slowpoke, Slowbro, Galarian versions as well. Magnemite. It's an inanimate object. It shouldn't even be a Pokemon. Farfetch'd, nobody likes him. Maybe in Japan they like him. He's Japanese exclusive in a couple of games. But kind of sucks. Muck, Grimer, Shelder, Cloyster. Ghastly, I actually think he's pretty good. Haunter, I like. Gengar, to me, doesn't look as good as Haunter. I know he's technically stronger, but he just doesn't look as good. Reminds me too much of Clefable. Onyx, Drowsy, Hypno, Krabby, Kingler. I actually kind of like Kingler, but he's not great. Executor. I skipped past Voltorb and Electrode. The Cubone Marowak lines, pretty decent. Not awesome, but decent. Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, Lickitung. The coughing line is horrible. They should just remove it from the game. And maybe they have. In newer games, they have cut down the pokedex a lot. Rhyhorn. Rhydon is slightly better. Chansey, not great. Kangaskhan is pretty good. Horsey, Goldeen is just a goldfish. Staryu, Starmie, Mr. Mime. Scyther, I actually like Scyther. Jinx is okay, but not great. Same with Electabuzz and Magmar. Pinsir. A lot of those from the first game that didn't evolve, they're kind of good. I don't like Magikarp Gyarados. I know it's technically strong, but I just don't like it. However, Ditto, that's my S tier. I need him at the daycare 24/7. He does not get to be in my party, ever. Eevee, I'm going to put Eevee in C tier, just because I like to complete the Pokedex, and having an Eevee around leads to all those kinds of things. I'm not a huge fan of Ammonite Amistar, but I do like Kabuto Kabutops. And now it's getting a bit more difficult to drag things around. Snorlax. I'm actually going to put Snorlax all the way up here in A. And I'm going to move Kabutops up there. Kabuto's not as good. And I'm actually going to move Charizard up. Yes, looks right. I hate the legendaries. Don't exist. You're legendary, well, I killed one of you and now there's no more of them. They can't breed. Dratini. It would be better if it transformed into something better, but I don't like Dragonite. Mewtwo. S tier. Mew, I would rank it higher, but it's so difficult to obtain. I just can't. And I'm not as much of a fan of Gen 2, except for the Totodile line. Something about this Croconaw just reminds me of Fred Flintstone, and I think that's good. And then we have useless, useless, useless. Whole bunch of useless stuff. Ugh, Crobat. Trying to get the friendship high enough on Golbat to evolve that. And of course, the babies. Nobody wants babies here. Flaffy. All these things suck. Sudowoodo is actually good. I'm gonna put him in B. Politoed. Where did I put those other polys? There you go. Go with your brother. Hoppip. Apom. All these generic stuff. The evolutions, Murkrow, other split evolutions. Unknown, I did like the gimmick that they spell out messages, so I'll put him in C for that, but I don't use him and I don't bother collecting them all. And a lot of these are very forgettable. Like, would you know Heracross's name if I didn't say it? Sneasel. Okay, but Teddy Ursa, that... he has a special place because he was the starting Pokemon in Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness on the GameCube. So, he gets B tier for that. And honestly, I could probably just combine D and F. They're basically the same thing at this point. Swinub sucks, but I actually kind of like Pillow-Swine. I'll put him in C. And that's a new variant. I haven't played that game yet. So this does have some of the newer Pokemon. I've played up until... let's see. I played up until Sun and Moon. And I think I played Legends Arceus. I have not played Sword or Shield or Violet, I think it is, in the next generation. And Scarlet? Yeah, Scarlet. Tyranitar, I'm gonna rank him high just because he's so useful, but I'm not a huge fan of his design. And Grovyle, I actually like his design. He can be a C tier. His baby form and his evolved form both suck, but the middle one is decent. And, oh yeah, I'm not a fan of Mudkips. And all these generic, like, dog types and insect types and rodent types, I couldn't care less. The generic birds, I don't care. Gardevoir, I know a lot of people like her, but I'm just not a fan. Now, the Slackoth line, I'm going to try to put them up in C tier, but it's getting kind of difficult to move these around. And I think I'm only in like Gen 3 right now, so this is going to get a bit messy as we go on. Shedinja, it's a weird gimmick that you have to have an empty Pokeball when the other one evolves, and it's kind of like the empty shell that's left behind. But it's not... I don't actually like it. The Wonder Guard system where it can only be hit by things that can't miss, it's just a gimmick. Carvana, though, I think that's how you pronounce it. I clicked the wrong thing. I wanted this one. And Sharpedo. I do actually use these in some games, so I'll put them at least in C tier. Wailord, sometimes I have to use him as an HM, but I really don't want to. It's like the game forcing me to. And this Altaria and Swablu line, I hate how they're just flying at the beginning instead of being a dragon. So every time I want to evolve a dragon, it doesn't count. And I'm not a fan of that generation's fossil Pokemon. And I'm never a fan of the weird evolution requirements, so Melodic and Feebas go away. All these ghosts that don't particularly matter. These random one-offs that aren't don't evolve. Some people like this feel line, but I don't care. And I'm not sure whether there's 2 Huntails here. Or 2 Clamperls. I know Clamperl does have split evolution to Huntail and Gorbis, but yeah, I don't care. Bagon and Shelgon suck, but I do actually like Salamence. I just wish that his evolutionary chain looked better and were somewhat more useful. It's kind of the same problem as Magikarp. And Beldum and Metagross have the same kind of issue. And I think I talked about them in a previous video where it's like one Beldum becomes the leg of its evolution form, similar to Magnemite. But I'm just going to throw all these trash monsters over here. Chimchar is somewhat decent. I don't know. Should I put him in C tier or B tier? I'm definitely going to put him up somewhere. Not like that. High up in the rankings. I'll put him in B. He's better than Charmander. And his whole line is... I especially like the blue on the forehead there. It's a nice touch to the design. Gives a little bit of variety in color. And Infernape. Missing the blue, but it's still a nice Kung Fu monkey. And these bagworms and the bees. Pachirisu is actually kind of good. Not in combat, but in design. I think he's pretty decent. I might move around some of those upper tiers later on. I'm just getting through. Most of these things are just disgusting to look at, and I don't want them in the game. And when they first announced that they were actually going to start reducing the pokedex, I was kind of upset because it's like, hey, you're not allowing me to catch them all. That's the whole thing. You got to catch them all, and now I can't catch them all. But I got over it, and now looking at all this, like it really did need to be pared down. There's no way we could keep going with like over 1,000 Pokemon. The Gibble line to Gabite and Garchomp is pretty decent. This is how cool I wish the Dragonite and Salamence lines had been. Like, you can see it's as it evolves, the design is getting more complex. And it looks like it's getting more dangerous, but it's not like a circle or a snake in the middle. It's an actual, like, logical evolution there. Munchlax and Bonsly, similar to Eevee, hold a special place in my heart because of Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. And I actually like Munchlax better than Snorlax, so I'm going to put him all the way up here. But a lot of these things, like, would you really know the names of these two without me telling you that it's Skorupi and Drapion? No, you wouldn't. I know you said no, but I'm just confirming that I'm aware that you said no. Licky Licky didn't need to exist. That thing didn't need to evolve. All these retroactive, oh, we're going to make those ones that didn't evolve now. And even the Rhyhorn line, we're going to give it a third piece. Completely unnecessary. However, Mamoswine, that one is good enough that I will forgive it for adding a new evolution to something later on. because it's a mammoth, and mammoths are cool. And then we have a bunch of these garbage. Like, look how many legendaries there were. The 3 lake spirits, the space and time boys, that random volcano guy, the Reggie, the ghost, that other thing, these 2 that are practically clones of each other, Darkrai, Shaman, Arceus, Victini. Why did a single generation need that many legendaries? It is completely unnecessary. Should never have happened. They need to remove legendaries from the games. And these monkeys, pale imitation of Mankey and Infernape. They cannot compare. Woobat and Swoobat, horrible pale imitation of Golbat and Zubat. Same with the Timber line to Girder and Conkeldurr. Pale imitation of the Machop line. Machop, the OG, will always be the OG. Can never be replaced. Unless you get a guy with like 8 arms, but I don't think you can make that design look good. Maractus, Dwebble, Crustle, Scrafty, Sigilif, Rionculus. This guy, I think you might be sensing a pattern here. I like the combination of red and blue. I think it looks kind of good. And I scrolled too fast. Where did I? There he is. So Archeops, when he first got added, the baby form's like alright, but the evolved form I thought was pretty cool. And this was around the time when people started talking about dinosaurs with feathers, so it made sense that Pokemon would add something into the game. And it just worked out well for them. And of course, no one wants sentient ice cream as their Pokemon. These guys that evolve when traded with a totally different species doesn't make any sense. You can't trade and then, oh, I'm only going to take a piece of that Pokemon and you get the other piece of that Pokemon. We're going to dissect him while he's alive, and we're going to dissect this other guy, and we're going to mash them together. Horrible. This is the other guy. Shelmet, Excelgor, Excavalier, something like that, and Carablast. Horrible. If you noticed while I was going so fast, the Axu line to Haxorus, a fracture within the middle, they do look kind of dangerous, but I think it's dumb how it suddenly became gold, and that ruins the whole line for me. It would have had something going for it if it had led up to something, but no. Bouffalont, I'm actually going to take up. I like the afro on the buffalo. Buffalo afro. Afro buffalo. He can go in C tier. That one sucks. Those dragons, I might use them just because they're strong, but not because I like them. And again, this generation, way too many legendaries. And Rufflet, he's better than a lot of these, but not good enough to actually be likable. And then this next generation, I'm not sure why Greninja caught on so much and became part of Super Smash Brothers, and everybody likes him but me. I don't know, maybe you disagree in the comments. Do you like Greninja? How about the goat? It was basically a taxi service in the one game. Are we in Sun and Moon yet? Or is this still Pokemon X? Hard to keep track years later which Pokemon appeared in which games. But I remember this guy, you had to hold your Nintendo 3DS upside down to make him evolve, which was wild. And I definitely needed to look up a guide online in order to know to do that. Okay, there's Sylveon, and Haluncha, and Dedanine, and the silly water dragon, Klefki, these ghosts, Avalugg, Noibat. I might place these higher, but Pokemon Go making them infuriatingly rare to find just soured their whole species, I guess. Whatever you call the Pokemon types. This dinosaur, though, the T-Rex, I'm going to place higher. Look at all that F tier. All those garbage need to be removed from the game. So I think the baby form of this is called Tyrant, and then the adult form is Tyrantrum. And I'm going to move them up to B tier. Oh my gosh, we're nearing the end. We're almost there. Alright. Rowlet. Some people like him, not me. I could try to be more discerning of the ones that I don't like. How bad are they? But I think that would just be a waste of everybody's time. Now, the Mudbray and its evolution I remember from Pokemon Moon. This one, I don't know if I've ever actually gotten it. I always get mail of the little one, so I can never evolve it. And this pink Stuffle, I'm actually going to put pretty high. You might be surprised, because a lot of the other pink Pokemon I did not rank high. But Stuffle looks good, as does his evolution. It reminds me, there was a Digimon who was kind of like that, like a stitched horror teddy bear thing. Good luck finding it, but I remember back when I was watching the TV show, it was pretty cool. Komala is kind of decent. I'm gonna take him all the way up through all this garbage. Mimikyu, some people like him, but I'm not a huge fan. And why is this? It's an anchor. Why is it alive? I like it back when we had ghosts that were just ghosts, not like a ghost possessing something. And again, way too many legendaries. You can call them Ultra Beasts if you want, but they are just legendaries. Same thing as you can call them, some of these can be called mythical, but they're still just legendaries. This guy, Meltan and Melmetal, I remember when they came out, it was like a crossover event between some other game and Pokemon Go. And kept having to connect my Switch to my phone to get them to activate together. Okay, this squirrel, he's got chubby cheeks. He receives a pass. He can be the other squirrel in addition to Pachirisu. Because Pachirisu, mandatory. You can't have a game without it. And of course, if he's in here, you gotta have his evolved, even chubbier form. I think it's like Squovit or something like that. Ingredient. Ingredient sounds right, but I don't remember if it's Squovit or something else. And I didn't play this recent generation, so I only know the ones that were added to Pokemon Go, and of them, I don't necessarily know all of them. So these ladybug things might be really cool, but based on what I'm seeing here, doesn't look great. The fox looks like it might have potential, but also could be horrible. The sheep were in Pokemon Go, but I don't care. I am not a fan of Yorkies. Go get out of here. Whatever that is, looks kind of like Bowser. The apple with eyes turns into a pie. The snake that... Why? Why did you do this? Who did this? What art design team okayed that? Why? It's just complexity for complexity's sake with some of these guys. Teacup. Don't need any of that. Imp. We just have imps. And yeah, some of these guys near here, like that one, the evolved form of the Galarian Meowth, these three here I recognize from Pokemon Go, but they suck. And Phalanx showed up in Pokemon Go, and I didn't understand it. I don't know why it's a thing. Why is this capturable in one Pokeball instead of 6? It doesn't make any sense. Similar to how Magnemite and Magneton never made sense. But maybe I'm not the target demographic. I can't even see what... I mean, that looks kind of interesting, but it's so low polygon count I can barely tell. And I recognize him from the movie. I did see that movie, but I didn't like him. Yeah, you know what? This guy with the bandana, I'm actually going to take him and his one evolution up. I'm assuming he's at the evolution. And now we can get to the fun part, which is refining those top rankings. Okay, so D and F, you can basically just say, remove all those from the games. I'd rather they didn't exist. So S tier, Machamp, Ditto, Mewtwo, Munchlax. I'm debating putting those up there. Bellsprout, I'm going to have to move you down. And these guys I actually want to remove from the games. Same with Ponyta, actually, and Rapidash. Vulpix, Ninetales, Clefairy, Clefable, Growlithe, Arcanine. We've got too many fires. Nidoran, I kind of wish that it could be a split evolution. It was kind of intended to be, but they didn't have the technology at the time. So if I were to redo it now, I'd have it be 1, 2, and then split. Similar to the Poliwag line. Okay, let's see. Chansey, I'm going to get rid of that. Sharpedo looks kind of dumb. I wish that this guy could just be like a fully evolved form on himself. Maybe start him off with 1 fin crest instead of, and then go up to 2. I really don't like going down from 2 to 1 when he evolves. I'm gonna get rid of the Alolan Diglett. I'm not a fan. Pincer would be better if he was good at combat. And I'm jumping around here. Why don't I go straight? So Alakazam is nice. I like Machoke. I like Haunter. I like Scyther. I like Croconaw better than the other two. Bonsly is better than Sudowoodo. Teddiursa and Ursaring are both real good. This guy's only here because he's strong. The middle gets special treatment there. The fully evolved form there. Do I like Tyrunt or Tyrantrum more? They're pretty equal, and I think I have to place them higher than Nidoking and Nidoqueen. Okay, Charmander, Charmeleon. Decent. I'm going to get rid of that, though. Ekans, sorry, Arbok. I wish this could just be a single evolution thing. It doesn't need a baby form. We don't need baby forms for everything. Too many Meowths. I do like this guy. I wish he could be its own thing, not just a different form of Meowth. Eevee, I'm getting rid of him. Marowak. And yeah, get rid of Alola and Marowak also. Yeah, I like the concept of Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan. I like the story of Cubone in the first game. But I wish Cubone evolved into Kangaskhan. And let's get rid of Unknown. It can just be a language alphabet. It doesn't need to be living, intelligent beings. And get rid of that. I'm actually going to get rid of Slacking and Slackoth. Just keep Vigoroth. Little monkey. Little ape. He's got a tail. I mean, it's kind of the thing of all apes are monkeys, but not all monkeys are apes. Miltank. I think it does make sense to keep her. And I think that's pretty good. So let's rename this. Okay, so what's the best? Mewtwo is obviously the best. Mamoswine. And Machamp. Then S tier, we got Ditto, Munchlax, and Mankey. I'm gonna put a Haunter up there as well, and Croconaw. And Archeops. A tier, I gotta keep Pikachu. He's the mascot of the entire series. As much as I wish he wasn't, he is, and I can't change it. I would like Snorlax to be the mascot, but he's not. He's just as easily turned into whatever merchandise you want. And he's not a mouse. Okay, these guys, that's pretty solid A tier. I'm gonna get rid of Abra, remove you from the game. People could just start at Kadabra and change to Alakazam. Bellsprout, I still do like its design, its little wigglies. Jigglypuff, the cartoon series really made that one special to a lot of people with it singing and then using the marker to color on people's faces. Psyduck is pretty good. especially his shiny form. That particular shade of blue is just amazing. It reminds me of like candy. Just want to take a bite out of him. Poliwag, Poliwhirl, Poliwrath. Yeah, that's the one evolution line that I actually want to keep intact. Charizard can exist on its own. Get rid of Feraligatr. We need Croconaw to be the final evolution of whatever its chain was. Same with Haunter. Totodile only exists to perpetuate Croconaw. I can actually remove him from the game. Same with Charmander. We can start off with a little head crest. And this guy only exists because he's strong. Similar to Sharpedo. Alright, so I think that's a solid B tier. I'm just debating. I think I'm going to move a few of these down to C tier. Like that. And Machop as well. And the baby form there. I'm not a huge fan of the baby forms of a lot of these guys. Diglett and Dugtrio. You know what? I'm going to keep Diglett but remove Dugtrio. It doesn't make sense. They've got 3 heads. And I'm debating, do I need Jinx? I think I'm going to remove Jinx. I'm going to remove Pinsir as well. And I'm going to remove Piloswine. I can just have Mamoswine. I don't need to evolve into it. I can just have it. It can just be in the wild. A lot of the newer games are doing that, especially like Legends Arceus. You can just find the fully evolved thing in the wild. You don't have to bother evolving it. And again, I don't really know who these two are, but they look decent enough at the first glance. I'll keep them. And get rid of the baby form there. And I think I'm actually going to get rid of Miltank. I was waffling on it back and forth, but I think I'm going to get rid of it. So, if I were making a new Pokemon game and they asked me to pare down the pokedex and say, what Pokemon do you want to include in the new Pokemon game, I'm going to say these 3 are going to be like your Victory Road or Path to the Elite Four kind of guys. You can just find them in the wild there. Maybe boss monsters. Maybe there's only one of each in the game. Maybe there's a couple of each in the game. I don't know. I know the movies made Mewtwo seem like a very unique thing, but I'm not a fan of having legendary Pokemon in the game at all. It kind of doesn't work with a lot of the other systems of, you know, breeding and having the hidden abilities and all the stats and whatnot. Like, what happens if you get a legendary with bad stats? You're just screwed. There isn't another one. You can't replace it. You can't fix it. You can't change its IVs. You have to reload your save. That's it. I'm actually going to get rid of Ghastly. So, yeah, these guys must include. If it doesn't include these, I'm not signing on to the project. And then these ones, A tier, I think that they should definitely be included. I'd be willing to hear out other arguments to see if you want to cut them, but I think I've done enough cuts. Like, we got from over 800 down to, what is this, like 3, 6, 10-ish, 20-ish. We're at like less than 50 here. 50-ish, anyways. So, cutting it down to 50-ish Pokemon for a new game release, and you might be able to add like 2 or 3 more like brand new designs, but I don't think adding 50 or 150 new Pokemon designs for every single game is going to work out. Like, think about it. You've gone through so many generations. You've gone through like, what, 10, 11 generations, and you tried adding 100 or 150 Pokemon every generations for the first few, and then you got to a point where you couldn't add the backlog characters into the new games because it takes too long. It takes too long to code all their moves and all their interactions and the sprites and all the animations, especially when moving to 3D. So why would you repeat the same mistakes? Don't do it. Only add like 5 new Pokemon per generation. You don't even have to call them generations. It can just be new games in the series. And, you can focus on refining the existing Pokemon. If they have a moveset that doesn't make sense, get rid of it. If they have, like, Growl and Leer and stuff like that, you don't need all of those different status effect attacks. You can just have, like, a 1 move that decreases your opponent's stats, and 1 move that does a status effect. All these newer games where it's like, can you be poisoned and paralyzed and asleep at the same time? Can you be cursed and hexed and poisoned at the same time? I don't know. And why should a player need to know that? So, if you're paralyzed, you're knocked out. That's it. You don't need to continue fighting. If you're asleep, you're knocked out. You don't need to continue fighting. Don't beat up sleeping Pokemon. Same with poison. Like, okay, forfeit, give up, end of fight. So I do have a few evolutionary lines in here that I'm either keeping entirely, like these 2. I know there is a 3rd evolution somewhere in the newer games. I don't think it was in this list. If it was, I would have removed it anyways. Even if I did it by accident, I would have done it on purpose if I had seen it. These guys, I don't think... Ursulana. So there's technically a 3rd evolution here, but it doesn't deserve to exist. Same with these guys. They don't need a 3rd evolution. And Haunter and Croconaut, they don't need to be evolutions. They can just exist as they are. And really, like, you could take some of these things, of like Mankey and Primate, and they don't need to be evolutions of each other. They can just be separate characters in a game. The Nido series, they don't need to evolve into each other or metamorphize into each other. They can just be different characters that are like grouped together or affiliated. If we are going to remove evolutions, though, I would probably remove Machop and Kabuto, because they don't really make sense on their own. They only make sense in the context of evolving into something good. Whereas Psyduck, he makes sense on his own. Nidoran, it's a little poison spiky thing. It makes sense on its own. And a slightly bigger one. If I had to choose between the 2, flip a coin. I don't care which one lives. And this thing, I'm definitely going to rename it. It's no longer Galarian Meowth. It's something else. Yeah, so I think this is it. This is the definitive Pokemon tier list. Anybody who disagrees is obviously incorrect. As with the internet, nothing incorrect can ever be on the internet. So because I've put this on the internet, it's now the correct. Just joking. Anyways, like and subscribe. I'll be back to my normal content after this. Who knows? If people like the tier lists, I might do more. If you like the kind of rambling, ranting at the end, then I do lots of those types of videos where I rant and ramble and give my opinions on stuff. See you later.